been able to connect them in just about every situation. See if he can do that once again. So get ready for the first game in the series. Again, the final team to move into the top 8 here at Worlds. Will it be MKOI? Will it be T1? T1 the favorites, but MKOI, they got a shot.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
In respect to the MKOI fans who have trekked here out to Beijing, I just heard one very guttural roar of Vamos Koi. Sometimes it can make all the difference.
And for MKOI, they're hoping they don't have to make that trek home after today. Opportunity here to try and take down T1, but Alvaro going to be spotted. Keria only has the head push, so significantly less worried about that. And no word placed yet, but Keria, there goes. Pop over the wall, just try and spot out the early clear.
Mirwin and Doran, of course, get eyes on each other. Small health advantage for Mirwin in that trade, but it means we're not going to be seeing any kind of creative swap. It does make some decent sense. And already, we got aggressive trading early, which I love to see. That said, lethal tempo usually outmatches if you extend the trade long enough. So what initially looked pretty positive for Jojo, Faker, good awareness of the keystone there just to keep that trade going, and is still keeping that tempo stacked at least for another second or so.
Yeah, both pots burned immediately by Jojo. So we're going to see if he can try and look for that early health trade, it looks like, as that pot ends up coming through. But either way, as you say, like, Harvey trading in this mid lane, that kind of favors, honestly, the Xin Zhao more, who may be able to make a bit of a pressure play here towards the mid lane earlier than I'll say the Qiyana. But I'm also looking at that TP in the bottom lane. Varus, Gumayusi end up opting in towards an extra teleport for the squad. So we'll have to keep track of him, because at this point in the game, with Keria having that unsealed spellbook, that's potentially 4 TPs that T1 have to start moving around the map. And I think that's where we've seen MKOI struggle the most, is when they're trying to play on these 1-3-1 side lanes and getting caught out. If an extra teleport is there, can be a bit of a difficulty. Although, with the Orianna, less 1-3-1 for this style of comp.
Definitely. But getting caught out on side lanes, a common story for a lot of teams at this tournament, right? But that's pretty far away. Currently, still seeing some... Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what I appreciate about this, even as an EU pundit, is that at least you get your oopsies out in the early game, you know? PvE oopsies instead of mid-lane gank oopsies, as we saw in the previous series.
It is a bit of a philosophical thing that I have, which is, you know, you get the bad karma out of the way at the start of the day, and then the rest of the day has to go well because you use up all the bad stuff at the start. So that's basically what Ayoya, I feel like, is employing here. Just a little whoopsie.
Oh, it's intentional.
Get it out of the way, and then it all goes good from here.
Yeah. Okay, I feel you. We'll now go for an invade. We'll see how this one works out. Pretty difficult for him to threaten Owner, but can just go for a steal here. Goes over, never mind, he's waiting over the wall. Observer's highlighting it beautifully, Owner. Likely gonna have to flash here. Lockham's there, might not get the chance. Doesn't even try to get over the big wall. MKOI with first blood.
It's the good karma. Draco's coming back for Ayoya. Managing to pick up the first blood here off a really nice invade timer. Even the fact he moved Alvaro over was just perfect. Moving over, Owner ended up using that invisibility at the start, which meant he didn't have any left. And then Alvaro able to move in here to help out Ayoya. And this is what we're talking about. That jungle support synergy is so high for this team.
Yeah, 100%, and really well played by the team overall. So unfortunate for Owner, he has the grass blade, which means that once he sees in, he should be able to go invisible, reset with the Terra Shape, get the grass again, and just be out there, right? Be stealthy. But because he uses both charges, because he uses everything on that golem, he's got nothing left to survive. And that's the bot lane prio paying off. Of course, for now, T1 have an advantage of their own, and Jojo's pretty far up. Waterblade ready to go for Owner. Jojo can continue to step into Faker, but he just does not have any health. Phase Rush, he's going to get him out for an extra second, but Owner just finishes the kill off effortlessly. Is forced to use the flash, but a nice fire back.
Jojo took a while to spot Owner coming in towards that mid lane. Ended up sticking around that a little bit too long. T1 make the play, and that's exactly what you need. We were talking about Owner wanting to try and snowball, set behind, but now answers back with a kill and helps even up, or at least control this lane state for Faker in the mid lane.
Yeah, credit to Faker playing so aggressive to get that health bar relatively low. You highlighted it earlier on. Of course, since you highlighted, they had already TP'd back, they already did more, but clearly Faker and Jojo willing to fist fight for lane control here.
Also, the Dark Seal already picked up for Faker means that he does end up with a stack on that, as well as trying to trade hyper aggressively here. So the more kills that can go towards that mid lane, the better for the T1 mid.
Area, decent bit of damage. Powered auto going to connect. Ospawn back, but Guma crucially hitting the arrow, proccing those blight stacks. He has already moved in, and it looks like taking the Raptors. So a lot of little trades across the map. Of course, ultimately, it's still an overall gold lead to the side of T1. So what felt like a nice, promising early kill has been really well answered is this entire wave. I mean, the Rakan can get the money, but that
Doesn't feel as good.
it actually feels pretty terrible. It's pretty bad. If you cancel some resets here, might be okay.
It doesn't matter too much because that extra TP on Gumayusi, so it means that he should be able to still come back in as he likes into this bottom side of the map. It also meant that if they tried to go for any sort of swap there with Supa, would have been able to be matched as well as Doran.
Level 6, immediately going to go all in on Miro, and Miran flashing away. Doran can flash follow, but after he doesn't connect on the all-out Pathmaker, just decides not to pursue any further.
Yeah, Miran flashed over to hit level 6 as well, so ends up getting that ultimate available, which means he may be chasing Doran as that ultimate wears out, but Miran having him burn his flash in these early stages, and the individual laning phases, small wins for
Faker
T1.
going in, immediate knockup, it's not going to stop the pushback from the Emperor's Divide. Jojo Pune running, but Owner happy to grab another carry on the way as well. Instead, going to turn his attention to the wave. Elyoya finally here, but it's just too late. The lanes for MKOI getting picked off so quickly as Keria even now tries to deny little bits of farm.
Great timing there from T1. You can see MKOI were aware of the level 6 and the flashless Orianna being a problem, but instead of Alvaro being able to cover, T1 just send more members mid and end up with another kill now towards this Qiyana.
And again, this is the first pick Orianna. This is the matchup that MKOI opted into, and this is Jojo, who I believe has been the most consistent player for this team up until this series, where he is being targeted and really taken out of the equation. Credit to Faker. This man is constantly using the E, the shifting sands to get in, keep that man low. And Jojo just had no room to play, while T1 already starting up that first Drake.
Yeah, they're going to be very happy to do so. Again, like, you have Doran burning that flash on the top side. You have Gumayusi and Keria winning out on bottom lane thanks to their aggression as well. And you can see that CS lead opening. And now huge wins in the mid-jungle. MKOI, we're hoping to fight early, but it just feels like it's already starting to slip through their fingers.
Definitely does. Faker comfortable in the mid lane. Gold leads everywhere except for Alvaro, who, of course, has the extra assist and picked up a couple extra minions after that last bot wave was pushed in. But getting cheeky here, getting aggressive. Owner does just take over to level 6, but has the mobility just to make it out. Oh yeah, it looks like he will be able to take away the red buff, but Kuma is there to contest, has used the ulti. TP now on the way in. That's Keria looking to arrive to the party. Slow, steady retreat here as Elyoya gets lower and lower. Supa there to cover as well. I think they would have liked to force out the Crescent Guard from Elyoya. Debating if they can turn this back onto Guma. Guma quick flash to safety. MKOI nice patience, knowing they have the control ward there to cover them.
Also, denying Gumayusi from getting to the wave does end up moving across eventually, but meaning that they had to invest this time, invest the time in getting that play in the Tri-Brush and don't get access to the wave on top side. So at the moment, MKOI at least finding these little windows that they are trying to pressure on, and it does give them early access to Void Grubs. And I don't think you can really contest this as Owner. May just try and sneak one with the Smite.
Level 4 for Alvaro. Throws the Gleaming Quill, so has been spotted. Owner not concerned whatsoever, knowing that Elyoya is on the grubs. I think MKOI should just be happy getting 2. That is a smite from Elyoya. No real reason to fistfight here. You don't have control in the mid lane. Jojo going to move up because it's an even wave. Elyoya continuing to step up. It's only Keria level 5. When becomes Lightning. Guma marked. Won't be charging in. Owner just wants to take this one. He has smite. Should be no way they can stop him, but Owner doesn't want to risk going down for it. So 3 grubs. Well played from MKOI.
I think Owner miscalculating on the Smite and how much damage he could do. Couldn't quite get that button down and ends up popping out. So MKOI, nice little advantage for themselves, and even denying Gumayusi this reset.
Pretty big as Guma doesn't have access to that teleport. Did a really good job early at building lane advantages without using it, but now in this position is just going to have to go for a bit of an honest reset. Instead, he's going to opt to stay and push one more wave even into the cannon.
Should be able to just push out the wave and then reset and match Supa back on towards his top side. He's not going to be too sad about any of it. But again, I think like a lot of back and forth here in the early stages. MKOI have been able to find some success in the early stages, but you can look down at the bottom of your screen and just see these small gold leads that are opening up for T1. And I think if they can continue to use this over towards things like the Dragon in 2.5 minutes and keep that pressure up, that's really where MKOI will start to struggle.
Yeah, and item completions are huge in League of Legends, right? So the goal really for Owner right now is the difference of having that Profane Hydra. Sunder Sky will be big for Elyoya, but doesn't have it yet. Now they're trying to make a play on Faker in the mid lane. He retreats back to the safety of the control ward, and Keria is here to cover. Level 6 before Alvaro, so no access to the quickness quite yet. Overall, gold has evened out. 3 grubs for the Drake, the biggest difference.
T1 also going to be able to move in onto this bottom side and set up a nice little bit of vision ahead of this Dragon. You can see both Owner and Keria moving in there, and Faker's fine here. Still has flash, still has the ability to dash away into this bottom side river. So nice job by him kind of solo contesting this area.
And Owner is very scary right now, Rob.
Yep.
Level 7, double buffs. Ready to get in there with the first strike. For now, luckily, he's focused on PvE, but I get a little nervous every time he pokes his head out in the mid lane. Guma only level 7 to Myrwan's level 9. As long as he doesn't get clipped by anything, it should be okay. But Myrwan's flash is going to be up shortly. Could be a problem. Keria now ready to respond, ready to support if need be.
It is still a little difficult to make things happen on this bottom side because you can pop the ult carry and get out of the Mordekaiser ult, but you still then kind of want that for if you're going to set up the tower dive.
Yeah.
So get a little fishy, especially even if Mirren just goes for the ult onto Gumayusi instead. So I think happy enough to just back away off of that one and just cover Gumayusi on the push. But again, like Guma, this long-range Varus is incredibly difficult to deal with, and he's been exceptional on this pick for such a long period of time across his career. And one of the things that he's become known for, I mean, even when you look back at stealing Barons at Worlds,
yeah.
So not exactly like he's off of any sort of comfort for himself.
No, definitely not, right? Those early item spikes for the lethality bars can be so cheap, as well as, speaking of, he has now finished the Sundered Sky. Can be a big tool for sustain, although generally Qiyana can be one champion alongside a lethality bars who can burst through that Xin if he's not able to get that ultimate down and really deny a lot of that effective sustain. As TP coming in on the bottom side, Myrwan locking up Gumayusi, immediately taking him into the death realm, but he just quickly walks back, uses the power of the ultimate, and the 1v1, the Q flash forward. Gumayusi may have overstayed as well. He's about to get taken out. Myrwan knows he has that one in the bag. Keria now running out to safety. Extra movement speed coming in. That's the power of the spellbook Ghost. T1 caught a bit of sleep at the wheel. Risky proposition for Guma. Might have been a bit of a caster curse, honestly.
Yeah.
Hyped him up just for him to get 1v1'd.
But he's not used to running TP, you know, so not exactly in the best of spots. Keria.
Now sprinting out. Flashing as well. Finally going to use the Unbreakable. This man is determined to live. Has a taxied off of Elyoya, but no one else is coming. They're going to use the Shockwave as well. Keria will eventually fall. Surely Keria will... Okay, Keria has fallen. All is okay. Sorry, the EU fan came out in me for a second there. I gotta put him down. Put him back in the box.
Look, I understand. You've been hurt before, but he is dead. The cow is in the ground, and it does mean Dragon will also go and follow. But you're giving that kill to Jojopyun as well, helping to accelerate the Orianna. So overall, it's nice from MKOI, and a big punishment of Gumayusi's TP and the overextension to try and save him afterwards.
Definitely. And for a team with a Lethality Varus and an Azir, you would have loved to be the person getting this second Drake when you've already gotten the first, to start stacking those Drakes to guarantee a fight where MKOI at some point are going to have to fight into you. Instead, unfortunately, a bit of a flub from the bot lane of T1. Myrwan looking to rinse and repeat here. Pullback does connect onto Guma. Do they want to keep the dive going? They don't even need to go that deep. Just obliterates him. Keria gonna get taken out. Well, they know he has no unbreakable will. MKOI grab another 2 in the mid lane.
Out of nowhere, MKOI starting to pick up a few of these kills, and it's off the back of the play earlier where the flash was burned on Keria and Myrwan just barely clipping Gumayusi after the flash with the claw.
And important to note there, Observer's highlighting well, a wave is the cost of that play, but perhaps that's why T1 felt comfortable, thought that MKOI were going to send someone up to catch the wave, skipped the step, did not anticipate MKOI making fast plays, but we've seen over the course of the year, one of the things that MKOI loves to do, they're willing to take those riskier angles, and now it's starting to feel less and less risky because the Swifties, Mordekaiser, it's scary. I'm just, you know, that is a hard man to stop from getting into your back line as Faker tries to make the difference himself. Does get the flash out of Jojopyun. Jojopyun keeping the extension going. Shockwave going to force the flash back from Faker. Keria and Owner there to cover, but neither side going to grab a kill. Just a flash and ult trade on both sides.
The thing is, though, it does make Jojo way more vulnerable in an upcoming fight, especially at the Rift Herald in 50 seconds. Having no flash gives Owner that target on his back. So I'm curious how MKOI want to try and keep Jojo safe. Is it forego this Rift Herald and try and keep their mid laner safe in a side lane, or are they just going to try and attack Owner very quickly as he enters River to try and deny him access to the Orianna?
It's a good question. Doran and Myrwan continuing to trade blows on the top side, but it's Doran who's keeping the push up, so that will be a push advantage for the team. Supa can respond, can try to get mid control for himself, but Lethality Varus, obviously one of the big strengths of the champion, even when Corki has his Trinity Force spike, is that he can just clear those minion waves so effortlessly. So another wave, losing a couple of creeps, another bit of gold chipped away from MKOI here, courtesy of Doran on the top side, but Jojopyun's been assigned, and our eyes are now on the next objective. 5 seconds. Jojopyun spots out Doran. Alvaro waiting off the side, but they really don't have the damage to kill Akaina, Crooker, and K'Sante. They will continue to tickle him, however.
He's going to be relatively fine for the moment. But I think with the way T1 have established themselves here, I don't think MKOI can really contest. There's a big wave that JoJo wants to get in top lane.
It's a risky bet. Top wave and mid wave essentially even. Myrwn going to push in on the bottom side though. Try to deny some CS, try to get some plates. So MKOI recognize they're down a man. They don't want to commit the TP. Immediate exhaust on the carry. A two-man knock-up with the Pulverize. Good damage. Down force using Unbreakable Will, but he's so low. Supa pushes for a bit more, and it's the big one to get it done. Redemption coming in the mid lane. It's going to heal up the minion as well. Keep the push onto this tower going. And Elyoya wants Guma. MKOI are bloodthirsty and fearless in the mid lane. Faker trying to respond with a push in the meantime, but it's MKOI with a massive lead.
These mid lane collapses are working for MKOI. They're getting the kills, they're getting some waves, but again, they are dropping one wave on top on that tower to Faker in the top side of the map. But overall, like mid tower for top tower, get the kills. They drop a wave in mid for T1 as well. MKOI are going to be happy with this.
In a good position. And again, the champions that they've drafted, the Xin, the Corki, you can see how they give them early control of the lanes, but they're not getting completely outscaled here. And Keria, it's been a bit of a rough one this game.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that he didn't just use that ultimate early. Like, there is no objective that you really need that ultimate for. So just burn us, just say, okay, I'm going to be fine, I can escape away to the tower. But instead, he ends up going down, and then the Q3 being set up here by Elyoya to flash forward with the immediate lockup onto Gumayusi. The flashless Varus punished on the back end.
And again, the story for T1, even in some of these shakier games, has been Guma being the rock when Keria fell a little bit short, but now they're both struggling in the context of this game. Keep an eye on the item completion, see when they can get a greater advantage, but can't afford to be complacent. MKOI clearly playing without fear here in this game one.
Yeah, trying to put pressure now onto this bottom side, use the fact that you've already gotten a good chunk of damage onto that tower, but Keria has snuck in behind JoJo, and that flash is still not up for the Orianna.
Elyoya shadowing, waiting above him. Do they want to push for the play here? Credit to MKOI. Might not know about Keria, but have enough people here on the bottom side to make sure that Jojopyun is not pushing out alone.
They have the vision in the top side jungle to spot out Owner, and he hasn't shown on any of the wards. So I think that's what MKOI have spotted, going, hang on, where is this Qiyana? She has to be on the bottom side, but JoJo
finding out firsthand exactly where Keria is. Lockdown coming in. Q-Flash goes in forward for Dorn. Pushback coming through on the Pathmaker. Pulls him out of the Redemption. Knocks him down. Owner picks up the kill. Killing spree for the Qiyana.
That was patience from Keria. So long he waited in that bush. Knew that eventually JoJo would walk up and face check. And that's the dragon now for T1.
So important for T1. So much time invested on the bottom side, and they are able to grab the pick. TP coming in from Faker. Want to make sure that they have all members present. Myrwn lingers a bit in the darkness, debates if there's an angle, thinks better of it as there's a bit of prio in the mid lane. Some minions denied and likely the tier 2 to fall. Supa making good use of that Trinity Force power spike. The Spellblade damage to the towers can't be underestimated.
The 3 Void Growth buff as well, doing a lot of work for them in that one. So MKOI getting at least something back, and maybe more as they want to try and push in on Doran. It denies them access to this top side of the map. More turrets for them.
1v1 on the bottom side. Myrwn starting to retreat. Owner debating if he can follow up. Obviously, Earthblade going to do a lot of damage when he gets the next reset on cooldowns. So Myrwn zoned away, but it's just a split map. MKOI getting a tower on the top side. T1 likely to finish off this tower in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and for T1, this is kind of what you want in a split map scenario, being able to match a lot of these plays and keep within touching distance in the goal. You do end up scaling exceptionally well with the Azir and this Varus as the game starts to go on, but I think for MKOI, the fact that so much of this gold is going into the hands of the Orianna, definitely they're going to be happy with as well. So it is going to be a case of how much can MKOI do now off of this 2-item spike that we're going to start to see come through, and see if they can just power through our T1.
And a huge opportunity for Supa to redeem himself, right, from the last performance that we saw. Has 2 items just waiting for that tier to fully stack. 103, 1K individual gold lead. We've seen from a lot of Corkis at this tournament what you can get done. We saw a bit of it in the mid lane when they took down Keria, but if they can keep that momentum going, make the most out of the early power of something like the Trinity Force, could put themselves in a very commanding position. But as EU casters, and if there's EU fans out there, you might be starting to sweat, and you might not remember why. But it's that little timer at the top of your screen that says 10 seconds counting down. That buff is called Otacon. And if you have ever watched an EU game ever in your life, you should be a little bit nervous about how this particular objective is going to unfold. We've seen great moments, but we've also seen a lot of throws. T1 staying composed, though. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
MKOI are looking like they want to try and hard force this though. All 5 members on the bottom side of the map and no TP among them. So T1, as long as they can play this slow, keep the waves pushed, they're going to get value from Doran in that top side.
Alvaro has to be careful though. Does have the barrier to keep himself healthy, but a bit of CC paired with the sheer amount of damage Oner can bring to the table can just take him out. They don't have control of that Tri-Brush, crucially. MKOI slowly trying to work their way in. They have mid lane control. They're trying to get control of the bottom lane. Alvaro going to take about 50% of his HP. Does have access to the redemption, but instead is just going to opt to reset. Herald used in the bottom lane as Oner finds Supa. Face first, pushes him back to the wall, immediately CC'd. Flat forward with the shockwave! Excellent teamwork, but Oner's still going to be able to find his way out. Now Guma's moving in. Ulti is going to connect, but it's Elyoya who body blocks. Elyoya with the crescent guard, but the snipe from Guma! Dead center right between the eyes to find the double as MKOI are now on their retreat, and T1 take the fight in the river.
The MKOI carries tried to combo, but it's T1 who were able to find the fight that they want with the positioning and the snipe from Guma. They managed to get the Otacon off the back of it.
Mirwin going to stop any charge from the Herald in the bottom lane, but a Herald for Otacon, a damn good deal for T1. Supa, powerful individually in terms of what he could do in a fight. What he did do in the end, nothing. Stunned, finds a bit of a lockup, isn't able to finish the kills, even if the Shockwave combo looked good for a moment. And Guma, despite that deficit, Supa was 1,000 gold ahead at the start of this.
And that's the downside for MKOI fans. The fact that you couldn't quite pick off Oner despite the play here and the Valkyrie getting interrupted by the Supreme Display of Talent means that when Doran jumps onto him here, he has 0 escapes left. Elyoya jumps in front of the Chains of Corruption, but Guma knows exactly where he is. They finish him off. Elyoya's gone too far forward. And ideally for MKOI, they play this slow. They keep T1 separated and they can actually make a play on that bot lane turret. But just with the way things went, MKOI get caught and T1 find their moment to fight back.
That thin line between confidence and hubris. Right, the sweeper giving Oner just that half a second more of information than he needed to make the aggressive play. And Supa, if that Valk gets him out, it's a very different situation. But because that CC connects, isn't able to use any of that power even now as he hits that 2-item threshold, the fully stacked tier. Giving him the upgrade, right as Guma's also going to get his, admittedly. But we take a look at the gold, it's Oner who just continues to pull ahead. Has opted for the Umbral Glaive. Going to deny more and more of this vision away from MKOI.
And it feels a little bit like that series yesterday from 100 Thieves where the picks and some of the kills were going in MKOI's favor, but when it came towards the objective setup and how to play the map, T1 just ever so slightly ahead. Now MKOI tries to see if they brute force their way in through the mid lane. Faker is separated.
Charm is there. Lock up on Oner, but he goes invisible for a brief moment. Now he's pulled him to the death realm up against Mir when ulti is really going to do nothing, but Oner's still able to retreat for now. Alvaro taken down. Oner coming over the wall, going to pop out in a brief moment. Wants to get the grass blade, doesn't have time. That's the shutdown, but it should be Supa uncontested. Instead it's Keria coming in with the pulverize, and now it's Elyoya versus the world. He goes in on a Faker, but there's too many people. There's not enough sky to sunder. There's nothing left to guard. Jojo wants to make the difference, but Guma grabs it. 3-man shockwave. He just doesn't have the damage yet. He doesn't have the items. Jojo keeps him low, but Doran wants to keep going. Q3 ready to pop. Pull through on the all-out. Looking for the Pathmaker to confirm. Tries to predict Jojo, and it just doesn't work. Doran looks like he's about to fall. Nice sidestep on Guma's Q, but Doran just barely able to walk away.
It's the Canadian mid laner trying his best, but it's Faker who's better and snipes him out.
I don't even know if that was necessary. That was the insult after the injury, Rob. No man left standing. Alvaro died at the start of the fight. Respawn. Faker's still sticking around like he might kill him again.
And the fight here, everything onto Oner to try and deny him. But it's Faker who's now shifted up from the top side, picks off Alvaro to start this off. And you can see MKOI, they're very scattered on this. Supa and Elyoya are so worried about Oner as he comes out. Jojo has been completely isolated. Now Alvaro is in the same boat.
Alvaro caught, will just get taken out there. Important to highlight in the fight, Doran perfectly calculating the Pathmaker, the Cassante W, to catch Mirwin as the Death Realm faded, making sure that there was really nothing he could do. And I swear to you, if you are just joining us, that 5 minutes ago MKOI had a 1,000 gold lead. 5 minutes ago, they were just face-checking a brush at Otacon, and everything seemed fine and dandy, and now here we are, and I think this is what makes T1 and teams at the top level in League of Legends so terrifying as it is one fight, 2 fights that can shift an entire game in the blink of an eye.
And it really does come down to like their ability to set up well around objectives in the team fights. Like looking at that Adacon, it was, okay, we can catch members of MKOI out where they shouldn't be. MKOI, Supa and Jojo try to make that play, it doesn't work. And now, I mean, Jojo, to give him his due, is trying everything he can with the fancy footwork, but there's just too many members of T1 standing whenever he gets that shockwave, and there's not enough damage with the build that he's gone at the moment.
Nope. And again, credit to T1, right? It didn't start great for Guma and Keria, but have transitioned nicely into this mid game. Guma connecting on all those piercing arrows. Keria with the taxi play to make sure the knockups are connecting.
To give them their due, Gumayusi did an exceptional job in lane of getting the lead with the punishment on towards to Supa, but as you say, as I started to move on into that early to mid game, that's really where Keria in particular started to get caught out. You started to see MKOI finding picks onto Gumayusi off the back of that, but now T1, this is where they're dangerous as a unit, stepping forward, choking out MKOI's vision, and Faker, Playmaker, hiding in the shadows.
2.5k, just about individual gold lead. Shadow Flame, the Verdant Barrier. 10 stacks, he hasn't even upgraded to the book yet, but honestly, he probably could. That is a terrifying Azir. MKOI, I think, in a weird way, happy that he's in the side lane and not right up in their face. Because now they have to try and hold on to this tier 2. The wave being ushered in, a bit of poke onto Doran, but they don't really have that much damage. No pen for Supa quite yet.
And now, as Gumayusi, you're delighted with life. Because the fact that you get to sit underneath these towers and just take pop shots at everyone on MKOI is so nice with 3 items completed. MKOI trying to check the Baron, see exactly what's happening, but that river is very dark and full of dangers.
That it is, and again, the Umbral Glaive for Owner. They've already seen 1 blue trinket used. Looks like 2 more on the side of MKOI to try and spot out when the Baron is going down, but they don't really have someone on the side lane who can go toe-to-toe with Faker. Doran is a tough threat to deal with as well, so it's just so difficult for MKOI to fight on even terms now. They had their chance in previous fight, but T1 with this kind of advantage just starting to smother them out of this game.
Yeah, especially when you're going up against this Qiyana, it is very difficult to get control back in your own jungle. You step forward, you end up walking towards a wall, and suddenly a Supreme Display of Talent comes over and you're not having a good time.
I love that ability.
Yeah, it's so
It's a
long.
mouthful. Yes. You can say ultimate, I promise. I'm going to say, I'm not saying the name.
But sometimes if you yell it at the top of your voice, it really does work.
You're right. You look nice and staccato, gets the people fired up.
I don't think I had that in that sentence, though. Uh-oh.
Supa. Falk out. What is the talent, though?
Qiyana. Have you never listened to her voice lines? She is very pumped.
Yeah. Pumped up. Guma potentially caught out. Alvaro not able to hit the charm. Only connects on the Keria. Redemption going in. Q flash from Mirwin. Redemption response from T1. This is a bit of an awkward start. Mirwin losing a ton of health. Pulls Keria into the Death Realm. And now it's Doran into the backside. 4 members strong from MKOI. Slowly working through the health bars, but down goes Mirwin. Doran only losing about 60% HP. There's been an awkward exchange of cooldowns, and T1 come out on top.
Yeah, MKOI trying to go back to if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which is just collapse on mid and hope for the best. But T1 have seen through their plan and managed to pick off Mirwin before any real damage is done. And now they're over towards the Baron. But again, face checking is not fun.
No, it's not. Supa losing about 20% HP just for walking in. TP in for Doran, solo zoning Supa, gonna ult him back through the wall. It's gonna take all of MKOI to turn. Doran now trying to retreat back into the waiting arms of his team. In the meantime, the Baron has been taken out. Faker and Owner easily 2-manning it. MKOI, brief moment where they have control of mid, but really nothing else for them to get.
The T1 going to be happy enough with that. Doran will give his life, but it's the Baron. And now that the Baron is taken, it's very difficult for you to try and deny the siege from T1.
And this is part of the reason why we see Azir prioritized so heavily, right? Is he is a control mage who does it all. Other than Cassio, he's like the only mid laner who obliterates that objective. Any other mid laner, and you're not 2-manning that objective while pressuring somewhere else at the same time. But T1, no strangers to rapid early Barons. It was a signature move from all those years ago. And MKOI only getting further and further behind.
Yeah, for MKOI, I think you're hoping on a miracle shockwave. Jojo near Shadow Flame, but even then, oh, hang on, Alvaro.
On the flank, nice backstep from Faker. Able to get a bit of CC down, Shockwave going in, but it's really not doing the damage they need. That's the supreme display of talent. I said I'd say ultimate, but I didn't. I couldn't help myself. MKOI getting the objective bounty. In the meantime, looks like the tower did fall in the bottom lane. But they're just being zoned off, pushed away. May come down to the 50-50 steal if Elyoya wants to poke his head in.
Nah, I think it's done for. This is what I was about to say, was the fact that you don't really have that damage on JoJo, and that Banshee's Veil on Faker just makes him so difficult to lock down, and he is the key target. So great itemization coming through from the T1 mid laner to keep himself safe and really deny the win condition from MKOI.
Yeah, and that MasterCard priceless moment was essentially just T1 denying MKOI any potential moment they had. And mounting the comeback is now Oner sprinting through the jungle. Alvaro goes over the wall, but there's just members of T1 around every corner ready to lock him down. Supa really does not do enough damage to Doran. He's able to zone him away. Hex flash over the wall. Alvaro locked up and interrupted. Oner trying to one-pop him, but Alvaro lives for an extra second. Nice shockwave, but really only connecting onto Keria. With that major cooldown down, it makes it so easy for Faker to step up, for Guma to step up. Big chunks coming through from the Varus Qs. The piercing arrows connecting. And T1, now that they have the Baron, now that they have access to the bottom lane, will they just go for the throat, or are they going to take their time? Doran unstoppable for a moment. The siege just continues from T1. No real way for MKOI to answer for now.
Yeah, the Gatling gun is a tickle for Doran. The shockwave is a cattle prod for Keria. There is no damage on MKOI's side, and T1 are just kicking down the front door. Reset's coming through now, and they want to keep up this pressure. TP back out onto the map on both top and bot, or top and mid, but is this something?
TP. Faker feels good because he has a death cap, and oh god, he wants to use it! Redemption going in! That looks completely insane, but my man, did he do the math?
That was a display of talent. That was some damage from Faker on that play. MKOI kicked to the curb after that.
The brief moment where they thought they might do something. Oh, Faker's just gonna kill everybody by himself. All right, we've learned that the best player of all time's most played champion might be worth taking away. We might have learned it before, other teams might have learned it before, but MKOI relearning this particular lesson.
Very happy that Fearless exists in this series if you're MKOI, because you do not want to go up against that again. As T1 was siege down the Nexus turrets. The waves aren't here, but the poke can be.
Yep. Guma just continues to free fire. One wave coming in on the top side, likely the end here. MKOI some good looks in that mid game, some good picks, some good angles on the T1's bottom line. As Alvaro gets things kicked off on the Faker. Nice initial bit of damage, but he comes out relatively unscathed. A lot of cooldowns missing. Redemption to get the health bars back up. Alvaro needs to backstep. Big damage. Doran going unstoppable for a moment. Q3 pulls him back through. Elyoya in the midst of everything, but Doran getting lower. The tower not quite enough. Supreme to blade. Talent coming in. Oner still standing for an extra second. I think they've overstayed a bit, but it just doesn't matter because they're not hitting Faker, and he's got more than enough damage to finish the job. The super minions are here too. It is long, it is drawn out, it is only getting more difficult, but Doran remains standing, T1 remains standing. They've only lost Keria. The Nexus exposed.
The defender's advantage is not really looking like an advantage.
Finally gonna end the game, Rob. They took their sweet time. They wanted a couple extra kills. The icing on top of this game one cake. Faker looking for another, the double to finish it. T1 coming in hot in this first game.
They didn't want to just beat MKOI there. They wanted to crush them. Finding those extra kills, making sure there was no man left standing. It was a close fought early game, but T1, they woke up.
Something, supreme display of talent. That's pretty much all we have to say here. T1, incredible stuff. Desk, how'd you feel about that one?
Well, I feel like
Pyke is exactly what I want to be playing.
But it would be a flex if they won with it, because
it would.
Playing as Pyke against a miasma is a nightmare. But here we are. Okay, issue resolved. We're now into the game. I got the T1 fightings. Okay, a lot of T1 fighting. I was waiting for the. Where's the MKOI?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I hear it.
I think he tried. Yeah.
I hear
there
it.
We go. There we go.
There it is. Gaining some momentum there. Oh, it's the knife grab. Oner ready to fight. JoJo ready to fight. It's like level 1 Twin Fang. Mirren and Doran gonna trade blows. Definitely favors Doran early on, though, as he has that built-in sustain, but either side gonna get a grasp proc. And what are you looking at here, Rob? There's a cornucopia of interesting matchups to talk about.
I think a large portion of it, again, is going to be on eyes on Elyoya and Alvaro. They got a nice invade off the last match, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get a similar story here, because when you look at Doran, should be able to punish Mirren in the early stages. Faker as well should have decent push against the Cassiopeia, unless he can go for this hyper-aggressive trade with JoJo on level 2. And in that case, I think it's a little bit more difficult for MKOI to try and like brute force their way into T1's jungle.
But it's important to note, You can see here on the top side of the map on your mini-map, Faker, of course, trying to take space in mid lane, but on the mini-map, you can see Supa wandering into the top lane. Pinged out, though. Clever early ward here coming in from T1 to spot this swap. So Supa will be able to play really aggressive into Doran, but it's also going to free Guma and Keria to really just hard shove these waves in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think the fact, though, that Supa will have as much control as he wants in his top side is much more important. Doran as well, you obviously want to try and go forward aggressive, make these trades so the Rek'Sai can survive, and she doesn't like when she can't actually get access to the wave because she doesn't get to stack up that healing on her bar. So from the MKOI side, nice swap and good timing to prevent T1 from being able to match it.
Yep. Fury, it's crucial, right? It's why this champion is so obnoxious in those melee matchups. Champion going to connect the Noxious Blast, but not in a position to Twin Fang. Faker giving the respect. No stranger to this matchup, right? Through all the eras of Rise, Cassio has always been an option, always been a counter. So we'll just back off and knows that he's going to need a bit more time before he tries to go toe-to-toe in those trades.
Yeah, I'm curious what happens with Yoya moving towards his top side. Doran has managed to take at least not terrible trades in the beginning, but always an opportunity for an early dive if you can make something happen. It's just that Rek'Sai is very good at dodging away from some of these plays because of the tunnels, because of the flashes. And you've also got Owner who's been able to move up towards his top side as well to match the Trundle. So looks like this wave will just crash and there won't be too much pressure going towards Doran afterwards.
Yep. Supa, of course, can try to get aggressive here with the tumble to get some extra poke, and will try to chip away, but does need to respect the potential for an instant flash knockup. Try and turn something back. Alvaro and Keria matching each other here around the mid lane, and again, we have a situation early on that it feels like favors MKOI in terms of overall lane prio.
And look at this, they're going to double reset, so both the Vayne and this Ambessa going back as the Rek'Sai TP's down. So is the Vayne comfortable enough to move in towards this bottom side of the map? It doesn't look like it. Looks like we'll have just Australian lanes, but the AD carries and the supports against each other.
Max isn't even here anymore.
I know.
Shame. There continues to trade. Bot lane. Okay, so just a delayed initial start to the laning phase. Supa is able to grab the Cole, as is Guma, but Guma, of course, first to the wave. Will be able to push this in, and one of the long-time struggles of Vayne, as long as she has been a champion, is general lack of wave clear. So should be pretty easy for Guma to just sustain a push here on the top side. Will cost him a decent amount of mana, but of course, absolutely no AoE in the kit. So Supa just going to be accepting his position under tower here for now.
Nice call here from Keria. It kind of ends up as this ward to spot it exactly what Yoya and Alvaro are up to, because this is what I was talking about. Like, this duo of both Braum and Trundle, incredibly strong on the invade if they can start getting some of those auto attacks down.
Supa has recognized that fist fighting is the solution. Who's going to get it? That's the third stack. Knockback onto Guma. Flash forward auto in the 1v1. Supa comes out on top.
The Vayne dueling power is so strong, and even with the barrier, Gumayusi isn't able to match Supa. Early first blood for MKOI.
And again, that's part of the reason why we've seen this matchup before. In the 5v5, Sivir can be a powerhouse, but in the 1v1, Vayne so strong here early on. MKOI now looking to keep that advantage going, but it looks like T1 may have caught them out. Double knockup coming in for Doran. Owner now on the chase. Elyoya needs to get the hell out. Myrwn not doing much to interrupt. Double flashes. Elyoya trying to get fancy with the footwork, but it's not nearly enough. Concussive blows continuing to stack, but Myrwn now needs to leave as well. Flash over the wall to safety, but Keria immediately falls with the Zenith Blade. Now it's Alvaro knocked up. The solo on the top side immediately counteracted by T1 in the bottom lane.
The Tremor Sense doing work there, spotting Elyoya and Alvaro as they went into the brush, and T1 pick them off where they stand, answering immediately back for Supa's good work.
Real credit to T1 for the quick pulling of the trigger on that bot lane counterpunch. Myrwn going to use his TP to reset onto the top side. Of course, flashless now, which might make things a little bit trickier as he tries to race to that level 6. Supa moving down to the bottom lane, has the recurve bow, will feel really comfortable isolated as we take a look back at the all-in here. Level advantage for Supa.
Yeah, managed to step away from the return of the boomerang, which does a lot of work here. And again, it's just this silver bolts. I'm pretty sure he's put 2 or 3 points, or 2 points into that there, rather than going for the tumble as with the amount of damage that was coming off those silver bolts. So that dueling power incredibly high against the silver in the early stage.
Yeah. Honestly,
I know it's just tumble, yeah. 3
just the
points
tumble.
yeah.
Additional damage, right? Huge steroid if you dodge out on the boomerang blade. Ricochet, again, Sivir, great scaling option, but the early level is certainly not where she has a ton of damage in that short kind of all-in trade. Good poke. Not nearly enough there, however, and Supa happy to have that XP advantage as well. Level 6. Final hour A damage steroid could be big. But unfortunately for MKOI, we're in a situation again where they found some kills, but it feels like T1 are still taking the reins, taking control of the game. 2-0 start for Oner, a terrifying prospect.
And you're kind of putting your eggs into that Supa basket, right? He's got the level experience over Guma. You can see Guma's just hit 6, whereas Supa already had it for a little while. Also, the early kill going to try and accelerate him towards that Blade of the Rune King, but you really do need 2 items on towards this Vayne before you really become a major threat in fights. And unfortunately for MKOI, you've got T1 who are winning elsewhere on the map. Getting this Dragon now, being able to set up with Oner already on 2 kills. This is where Wukong becomes terrifying in some of these fights, especially as he gets towards that Triforce.
Yeah, Triforce, we've seen it in the Corkis or the Wukongs, right? This is just such a powerful first item spike. Expensive, but when you get accelerated into it, can do a ton of work. Jojo and Faker continue just to trade blows here in the mid lane as Myrwn, Doran do the same. No kills really to be had, and now that Myrwn's ticked over that level 6 threshold, does have the Vamp, is able to kind of match the sustain that Doran brings to the table.
And the one thing that this moving around actually did was it did actually set Supa behind. Supa got the kill, which gave him the advantage when it came to the CS and the experience, but it has actually helped Myrwn in avoiding a lot of this matchup and get some of the much needed CS and experience that he needs. So Myrwn has kind of been carried through this early stage, alongside Supa being in a decent spot. So at least for MKOI, they've kind of got those 2 parts of the map they can play through. Whereas for T1, again, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a ton of pressure now towards Faker and Jojo Pyun. Try and do a similar story of what we saw in the last game. Burn flashes on Jojo, rinse and repeat over and over, and just make this Cassio incredibly uncomfortable.
Definitely a solid option as Doran gets a little tricky with the tunnels there. Luckily does not take a tower shot, but now it's Oner coming in behind. Myrwn, of course, has the ulti available. Public execution back into Oner, trying to get tricky with it. Bit of a sidestep there. The Sundering Strike ready to come through, but he just has no time to press the button. 2 spins coming in, but Myrwn! He gets a kill back onto Doran! A catastrophic miscalculation!
That's the second time T1 have tried to dive an Abessa this weekend, and it's the second time it's backfired.
Supa, caught out briefly, cleanses, goes invisible with the final hour, but he's hitting the wrong target. Guma immediately using On the Hunt. Supa now debating if he can chase, but that's the heal coming up for Keria. Takes over to level 6 just in time, and there's no cleanse this time around! Alvaro comes in to try to body block. Flash over from Supa into the bush. Guma not afraid to flash forward, but now he's face first to Elyoya. Concussive blow stacking 3. Alvaro desperate for the 4th, but it's Faker coming in from behind. Jojo also on the way, but he's just too far away. Alvaro locked up. The hubris of Supa once again punished.
It feels like this balance of powers where when Supa does well, Myrwn must have a terrible time. All right, the bot side must have a terrible time, and now we're seeing that swap elsewhere where Myrwn gets the turnaround and Supa overextends, questionably. That Braum was nowhere nearby, but thought maybe he could make the play happen regardless.
And stronger certainly in the isolated 1v1, and it probably stronger as a duo in the 2v2, but a clutch level 6 from Keria. And now as we take a look back at this, I thought for sure Myrwn was dead.
It was a nice job here, just so watch the shield, holds onto it for so long, and at this stage they think, okay, that's the execution, but the shield from Myrwn, really well played, and then picks up the kill here. But look at where, so miscommunication looks like. Elyoya on the Void Grubs, not coming topside, and Alvaro was getting some vision down in the enemy jungle. Supa thought he had the support, but definitely did not. And the flash from Guma into the bush means he can get the auto attack before any stun comes through. And Faker flashing over the miasma to get topside. Looked great, and ends up working out for T1 with another kill.
Yeah, obviously use a lot of summoner spells to make that happen, which could put them at a disadvantage in the next fight, but more than happy to have that gold, those 2 quick kills onto the bottom lane. Supa still not able to complete that Blade of the Rune King. Keria now ghosting and looking for the lockup onto Supa. Supa no cleanse available, going invisible courtesy of the final hour. Now wants to get the hell out, but there's Oner to start spinning. Supa taken down, Oner on a killing spree.
It's everyone on T1 focusing on Supa, making sure this Vayne cannot get ahead. The ghost from Keria puts him into the perfect position, and even if he doesn't get some of the stuns, just buys the time to Keria.
Just be careful, pillar down, force to flash. Smite for a bit of extra slow. Ulti already down as well from Elyoya. That's one tanky Trundle. Keria going to fall. Elyoya still a powerhouse. Oner getting locked up. 2 stacks of the concussive blow, and he uses the clone to escape. They're not going to over push into Guma, but Keria a little overconfident, continuing to push forward there.
Nice job by the MKOI duo to pick him off. Could have been a bit more, honestly, but the Trundle Pillar not quite a backup off Kuda, and now Myrwn training against Doran, doesn't want to look for the public execution. But still, it's very back and forth. T1 are slowly pulling ahead as they did get the extra kills in that initial bottom side play. But still, MKOI, they are fighting every step of the way.
That they are. Oh yeah, opting for the Sundered Sky this time around. Given how many short-range champions there are, I think it makes sense, but it is compared to the completed Trinity Force of Oner. So Oner, much more burst damage, but a bit more sustain for Elyoya.
But I think that's the terrifying part, because burst damage against things like Vayne and even this Cassiopeia, who hasn't gotten towards like the Rod of Ages and the Seraphs yet, is going to be a bit of a disaster if you start to move in towards his fights. Mirwin fishing for the execution, but not quite able to clip him.
No, he's not. Guma, focus. Now that he has the Essence Reaver completed before even the Blade of the Rune King comes in for Supa, it's so easy for him to just infinitely wave clear mid, deny Supa for any opportunity to force those 1v1s. Here now is Elyoya and Alvaro on the top side. Dorn with the tunnel network. This man's played Zerg at some point in his life. I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, it's only not quite a 6 pool available in this game, but MKOI is going to be happy to take away some of these plates on the top end of the map. In return, T1 going to be getting that dragon, so looking for these trades, but again, T1 kind of playing around. Oh, hang on.
Doran, potentially a little bit overconfident. Slowed up, he's just going to get taken out. I think thought that he could get a bit more. The rest of the team is on the way. Faker is here. Keria is here.
But they were so far away, and you're tunneling into the Cassiopeia with the miasma. Like, that's the worst option out of all you could have done.
That was bad. That was a goof. Big old goof from Doran.
I don't think he's getting the Rek'Sai.
Nope, he's
The Rek'Sai license.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it top 8, but did you get the Rek'Sai license? I'm not so convinced. It's Faker doing a good job of trading here. Nice sidestep on the Noxious Blast. Jojopyun needs to get out. Hasn't hit the Noxious Blast, so doesn't really have the movement speed. Conqueror procs. Faker happy with just the flash. Elyoya moving in. The pillar's going to be big here. Nice initial lock up on Supa as he tries to step back. Alvaro doesn't have the Unbreakable quite yet, and they're starting the retreat. Oner getting good chip damage down to Elyoya. The flash still keeping Elyoya alive. Keep your eyes on that Realm Orb. Hand delivered, but he's already been stunned. Oner locks it for a moment. Wants to turn on to Elyoya. Tries to finish off Supa, but down he goes. Dorn arriving just in the nick of time. This is a double knock-up. Guma goes over the wall, and he's looking to clean up house. Mirwin's still standing, but he doesn't have the ultimate because of the play earlier. T1 firing back.
That ultimate is so close to getting off the cooldown. I think Miro wants to fish for Faker, but it's a bait as Doran finds him in the bush. They're going to continue to push forward.
4 seconds on the public execution. Guma, does he have access to the spell shield? Jojo and Mirwin hesitating for a second. Tunnel interrupted. Mirwin still walking up. But my God, what a fist fight on the top side. 14 kills, 14 minutes. That's a pace of game I like to see.
I mean, this has turned into an absolute banger, and it starts with this trade in the jungle as Faker just trying to keep Jojo here so Keria can manage to get up towards the top side. It's a good flash from Jojo, and MKOI looking to turn this around, but look how far away Mirwin is from this fight as the TP comes through for Doran. It's a numbers advantage, and Oner, again, that burst damage, so good in setting up for this play. Supa goes forward hoping to get the kill, but it's actually the Realm Warp that ends up sealing the deal, because Supa then takes damage from the Rek'Sai, which allows that ultimate to pop through, and Mirwin eventually shows up at the end of this, but with no ultimate, and a lot of his teammates gone, there was little he could do.
Solid fight for T1, but the gold's still close. It's really the objectives where T1 are starting to pull ahead. Mountain Drake next on the menu, 2.5 minutes, but 10 seconds on that Herald.
The nice thing here for Supa, though, Blade of the Rune King now completed, so is in an okay spot if Alvaro doesn't get caught here on the top side, where you can hope to try and play around his 2-item spike, but like Doran, Oner, Faker all do so well when we come into this kind of 20 to 23 minute mark.
Keria potentially caught out once again. Alvaro taking a big chunk of damage, though. That's the Unbreakable use. They get Keria's flash, but Supa still taking his time to clear mid, and this is one of the things that's going to be so frustrating for MKOI, is it just takes a year for them to get mid prio.
And that's the MKOI, every single game so far have been doing this play of abandon sides, overload mid, and hope we can catch people out, but T1 have started to get aware of the ruse, and now they're just losing minions top, they're losing minions bot, and the TP from T1 to contest.
Full 5v5, Hex Flash over the wall from Keria, Solar Flare available, the Cyclone as well. Alvaro with the blinking health bar is going to be forced to retreat, does have access to the redemption, so it'll just be the Herald conceded. Are they going to spot him? Not quite. T1 happy to have the objective, and MKOI slowly losing advantage across the map.
Rift Herald put down immediately. The cavalry from MKOI is here, but T1 are here en masse, and this tower will fall with little MKOI can do.
Mirwin starting to kick a fight off, though. Ulti forced out from Owner. That's Redemption coming forward. He's going to mount up back into the Herald, looking for the triple knockup. Starting to drive through the entire team. Alvaro in the back line. Owner's just hitting everybody. MKOI pulling back. They'll keep their members standing. A lot of cooldowns traded, but no one going to drop. Faker contesting JoJo a bit, but it looks like JoJo just forced to TP out. Doesn't want to take the isolated 1v1.
The Battle Herald was enough to get a little bit more there for T1. And as you say, with JoJo TPing out, I think this is just top wave turret for T1 as well. So mid, top, control over this top side jungle. T1 again starting to push these advantages as we crest the 15-minute mark.
And we've perhaps recognized a problem with the man in the mid lane, now 2-0-2. We complained about his Azir, but there's also a Worlds music video where he's this champion.
Oh, wait.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe the GOAT's the GOAT for a reason, I think is what we've learned, and perhaps there is no right champion to give him.
Yeah, it's a decent trade from JoJo trying to go for it, but this backstep on Faker once more, which was famous on his Riven, to actually be able to sidestep away from the Cassiopeia, and then immediately forces the TP from JoJo.
This cast, we will be praising Faker. This is what we've decided. He doesn't probably need any more, but just in case you forgot.
This is the first international event I got to this year. I gotta it's a
You gotta
full
make up.
year
First
of
strike
Faker
and an
praise
MSI.
saved up.
Yep. Fair. He wasn't even at the first one, so I respect that you were saving it for first stand too. T1 going to grab their third Drake of the game. MKOI not feeling like they're in a comfortable spot to contest. And you can see why, right? Steadily falling behind. 1.5k doesn't seem massive, but it is tough. They have less wave clear overall. They really haven't found an opportunity to take control of the side lanes, and you saw in the 1v1, Cassio is still really hard to play in the Rise, right? You need to hit the Noxious Blast. You need those empowered Twin Fangs. If you miss one ability, Rise is easily going to outdamage you.
Yeah, and with the phase rush, it does get very hard very quickly thanks to the extra movement speed. But I do think MKOI, if they can hit that kind of 3 item, are in a decent spot. It's just a case of slowing the game down enough for that to happen. But we're getting aggressive on the bottom side. And at least T1, with 4 members down here, does open up a window for a bit of pressure on towards the mid lane. Faker going to drift across here to try and cover. But how aggressive does he want to be? Is he straight on top of Mirwin?
Be a bit risky. MKOI don't have good information. They don't have good ward coverage on the bottom side jungle. So they did see 4 in bot lane, but it had been too long. They didn't want to risk pulling the trigger. They didn't want to risk going all in. So now, bit of a lull, bit of a calm state. Again, objectives where we're looking 1 minute until the Otacon spawning on the top side of the map. Either side has that top lane tier 1 to play around, and JoJo for now just focus on getting pressure in the bottom side, getting closer to that second item.
T1 though, at least for now, being a little bit slower when it comes to setting up the vision control, waiting for people to be in place. So Kerry even hex flashing over there to make sure he's not spotted until he leaves on the to get his vision down. But again, like, this is get pressure made, get that push with the Sivir, slowly but surely eke control here from MKOI. This is, again, like, you have opportunities from MKOI to fight back with the Cassiopeia ult and the Braum if T1 are disjointed. But you can see here, like, they are just not. They're very careful and methodical now on their wave states and setting up the map in their favor.
They have better push, right? And they have the advantage in terms of overall gold, and you can see JoJo there, as much as he would like to 1v1 Doran and force a greater advantage, he really can't. Doran just walks away, gets the push. Now Otacon has spawned. Guma instantly wave clearing mid. Love you for that, observers. Well highlighted. This is the nightmare. If you weren't around for like season 4 or season 3, there was a lot of this.
You may have heard of this
season
team called
2.
Jin Air Green Wings.
Yeah, Vayne can kill Sivir on a side lane. Vayne is winning the 1v1. The problem is sometimes League of Legends is a game about minions, and Sivir is really much, much better at that game than Vayne is.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Supa hasn't been able to collect as many of those minions now because of the moving around the map. We even saw like a Mirwin moving to mid to collect the wave, not giving that to Supa means he's just starting to drift further behind. And Guinsoo's Rage Blade is a big item spike, but we don't get there.
Exhaust onto Ilya, locked up, all the CC leverage. Alvaro looking for the disengage, Doran's off to the side, has been caught by the Condemned. Guma flashing backwards, already used the spell shield. It's Mirwin in the midst of the entire team. Fall with the Petrifying Gaze. Supa still untouched for now. Slowly they're chipping through the health bars, and Doran's about to fall. That's the Silver Bolts proccing. Blinking health bars across all of MKOI as they start to retreat. Guma, Faker, still alive. The Realm Warp available. T1, do they want to chase?
Public execution on Mirwin, he's going!
We're going to go back on Guma. Guma with a perfect spell shield, looking for the follow-up as well. Still standing for a moment, but Ilya goes right in, looking to chop a bite out of Guma. Supa gets the kill, but Faker untouched for now. Again, MKOI playing on the edge. Owner about to be hand-delivered. Elioya looking for the angle with the pillar. Extra movement speed for Jojo. He's not going to be able to escape. They turn back onto Owner. MKOI still standing.
Faker goes for the kill on his mid laner, but leaves his jungle out to dry. And MKOI, when it looked like things were going dire, somehow find the fight that they need. And it starts off the back of this invade, where the exhaust goes onto Elioya, but that dive isn't really there. Supa on towards Doran in the top side. Jojo ends up flashing over the wall with this great setup coming through from Mirwin as well onto the back line. And the fact that Mirwin holds onto his public execution for so long here is insane, because the stun from Supa onto the wall, they back away, and Mirwin hiding here. Gumayusi, great reaction on the spell shield, but the heal is still there, and the turnaround from MKOI is perfect because everyone has to go and deal with Guma, and Supa finds his moment to jump into the backline with Elioya and find that duel against the Sivir.
And this is the situation we've alluded to so many times, right? The Sivir, you got the wave clear, you've got some power, even as Faker cleans up here. But when it comes to these scrappy fights, Supa has so many tools to stay safe, to dive in, to use that stealth. So the second the fight gets crazy, the second it gets chaotic, as much damage as Guma is doing, as much as he is an absolute powerhouse, he is still so vulnerable.
It's also T1, as Faker actually starts Vatican, not getting the fight that they would like, where it is this multi-man dive into the backline, constantly keeping up the pressure. Instead, they were kind of playing a lot of that resource into Elioya, but T1, resources well allocated here, as Vatican just going to go down because they're trading this for Dragon.
MKOI presumably know this is happening as they set up around the Drake, just don't want to give up Soul to this T1 team, but losing Otacon is huge. The XP advantage, the adaptive force. MKOI buy themselves a few more minutes. You talked about it before, 3 items, 2 items, maybe they feel like they just need a bit more time, and this does give them time. This is a tough thing to come back from. Otacon often underestimated in terms of the raw power, the raw stats that it gives you.
I do think, though, the time bought is actually a win for MKOI. Like, again, Riley is going to be massive for Jojo Pyun in these fights, and kiting back from Owner, kiting back from Doran, even making the fight difficult for Gumayusi if he has to walk over a Miasma. And then as well for the Vayne, who Quincy's Rage Blade now is a big spike for Supa, so can be much more of a threat in these fights. And we just saw T1, even though they tried to get the jump in the last fight, MKOI can find their moments in these engages.
Definitely can, right? In the extended fights, once owners use those ultis, once Carius uses initial cooldowns, Braum passive becomes so oppressive. Vayne, such short cooldown on the tumble, the silver bolts. We know what the team can do in those drawn-out fights, but have to keep finding those opportunities because, sad to say, we saw the same thing from 100 Thieves yesterday, right? We saw good fights, but the problem was those good fights never turned into good objectives or good games overall. And now MKOI find themselves in a similar precarious position. They need a fight, and they need to turn it into something greater. It's not enough to go even. It's not enough to scrap with T1. You need to best them.
And it's hard to do so when T1 just have so much control of the map. 1-3-1, a very strong push for T1 we talked about in draft. Now they're starting to use that to clear out waves. Look at Owner constantly hovering mid. He wants this pick onto Supa so badly.
Just for a bit more. Hovering. T1 though ready to collapse. The tunnel's all set up by Doran. MKOI, again, there's no major objective on the map quite yet. Baron in 12 seconds. It looks like they just want to get a little bit of pressure, a little bit of prio on bot side to make it easier for them to access the Baron.
But look at how T1 are moving on the map. So Faker pushes in top side, immediately starts to shift mid, lets Goomba start to teeter down towards bottom side, which immediately denies MKOI that access onto the bottom lane, despite T1 being a little bit behind when it came towards where they were positioned on the map. And MKOI just haven't been able to answer with this because oftentimes they're using Mirwin to try and sneak around a player, using him to back up some of these vulnerable carries in the Vayne and the Cassiopeia. So T1 just playing the map and slowly starting to get these waves further and closer to the towers of MKOI.
Yeah, and of course, I think it's important to note, MKOI have very little vision on members of T1. Guma just walked up mid lane, and if MKOI had just sent it there, they probably would have killed him or at least forced a summoner spell, but they're uncertain. They don't know where anyone else is, and if someone else is there, that play could turn on them in an instant. So really good awareness from Guma to understand what MKOI can and cannot see on the map.
And it's because of all the vision that's been set up on this top side. Like, it is littered with blue wards, but also has been cleared out of anything that was remotely red. So it does make it very difficult then for MKOI to really understand where are people in relation to Gumayusi. And now the resets come through. 2 minutes until that dragon. Baron is up and available, and you have to play the dance of MKOI of how do we keep both sides of the map safe.
That you do as Myrwn starts to trade blows with Doran, and you can tell that MKOI feel like they're behind when they're using their control wards in their own side of the jungle rather than neutral place, although they finally push that vision line up. We do finally have the Rylai's for Jojopyun. The third item completed. It will make those fights so much easier, so much more difficult for a lot of the short-range threats on the side of T1.
If you're MKOI in this position, I think you have to just wait for T1 to pick an objective and then force the fight at it. There is no real opportunity to try and trade. Maybe if you want to try and use Ambessa to take the dragon, but you can see Doran still happy to take these trades on the bottom side against Myrwn, so I don't think you really have the 1v1 potential as Myrwn to force that objective by yourself.
Definitely seems that way. Owner drops a control ward. Slow, steady choke out of vision. Farsight available for both Jojopyun and Supa. Again, it's a long cooldown, so really want to wrest control back from T1 here. Do have a pretty fast Baron once again. Ryze amongst the champions who can really shred through that objective. But it's the same for MKOI if they can find an angle.
Yeah, MKOI very slow and retaking, but it does give these little windows where carry it, resets, pick up a bunch of wards, Doran able to reset as well. And now, if you're looking at Supa, he's completely tapped out. And this is where T1 trying to get aggressive, knowing that Albro doesn't have the vision to contest them if they can clear it.
I'm not sure if the observers are able to hear us, but if they can just show the vision difference between these two teams. MKOI sees so little of the map. Honestly, T1 might as well be playing with map hacks. Look at this, they have bits, they have pieces. The only reason they even have a remote idea of where T1 are is because they know this dragon, this soul is spawning in 14 seconds. Already Faker taking control of mid. MKOI have a bot wave that they would kind of like to push in. The price of admission for them even to group here is going to be a wave of minions. They fail here, they'll only be even further behind. They're betting it all on this play. That's the Solar Flare, but no immediate follow. Block up onto Jojopyun is good. Doran going in as well. Jojopyun flashing forward. They're looking to take out Guma in the midst of the entire fight, but another knockup coming in just in time to keep Guma standing. Myrwn taking him down and moving back out of the fight in the midst. It's the owner taken out as well. T1 ready to come in with the Realm Warp, ready to turn it back. MKOI though, still 3 members strong. Doran debating where does he go? What is the angle for this fight?
Supa's lost the ultimate though. He's now way more vulnerable in this fight, and Doran wants to go for it. No flash available for him though.
Elyoya and Alvaro need to protect Supa. So much damage could come out of this vein, but if a single piece of CC connects, there's likely little they can do to stop any further damage. Heal comes in from Alvaro. Objective getting lower. Knockup coming in from Doran. That's Alvaro taking out of the equation, and Faker's now on the hunt looking to zone Supa out as well. Elyoya needs to take away the dragon, needs to deny the soul, and he will do so. Still standing for a damn long time, but not enough to turn the fight. Faker, Doran, Keria, too strong. MKOI might get the objective, but they lose just about everyone.
And the Baron is still a target here for T1, and Owner is about to come back up onto the map. Faker even looks like he just TP'd to the top side. Wasn't sure if he was scared of something because it's only Vayne that was on the map.
No, it's adrenaline. I think he thought they were just going to immediately go Baron.
But he's going to reset and move back up towards his top side. And T1, they barely don't get the dragon, but if they can get the Baron off the back of this, it can still be huge for them.
And the gold is so close. The gold lead that you see on your screen is a bit deceptive because items completed is relatively similar. It's really just the petals giving T1 the greater advantage here as they now start this objective. Myrwn not even sure if he can step up. MKOI after that last fight don't feel confident to contest. T1 taking the Baron at 29 minutes. Gonna have to see what they can do with the Red Bull Baron power play because there's no response from MKOI.
And Dracos, he talks about the short range already on T1. Having this is a huge book.
Public execution, it looks like they want to get some exit kills in the meantime. Locking up Owner, looking to take him down. Faker and Gumayusi on the way in, but the Redemption already used. No other summoner spells. So we'll just be the single pick that will slow down this Baron, but MKOI know that they need to play for more. They can't afford to let T1 choke them out.
The Rylai's onto Faker though, the slow, nearly enough to keep him in place, but that will slow down this Red Bull Baron power play from T1. Because they just don't have the members on the map. A pick from MKOI might have bought them more time here.
Gives them a little bit more space to maneuver. 3 minutes to the next Drake. Again, T1 at Soul Point. Wave clear advantage in their favor. Likely they should knock down at least a few of these tier 2s, but for the next 15 seconds, Owner isn't around. It means they'll at least need to concede a bit of space on the map. So as you highlighted, the pick gives them some time, chips away at this Red Bull Baron power play, means that T1 cannot take everything.
Should give them mid-tier as well, and that'll open up, well, maybe not with the TP, but I was going to say should give them the opportunity to actually get some deeper vision. A huge portion of this game for MKOI has been played in the darkness, not being able to figure out where T1 are on the map. Now, the deeper vision here, Keria should be able to spot out, as it is just a control ward, so should know exactly what's happening. But still, they just need to get back to base, spend the gold, and come back onto the map and keep T1 on their side.
It's tricky now for MKOI, surviving the siege, right? Guma with the Ricochet can just make these MKOI members eat so much damage even while they try to defend their own towers. And on the hunt, available. MKOI overcommit here. Oh, you'll walk face first into Guma. Lockup is there. Ulti connects from Alvaro. Nice petrifying gaze to kick things off, and down they go. MKOI with one more fast play. One more pick, but this time they want the full fight. It's Doran splitting off. In the meantime, MKOI immediately turned back. That's to get them right back into the wall. Lockup for the concussive blows, but the tunnel's keeping Doran standing. All of T1 immediately retreat. They want nothing to do with this. Doran will be sacrificed. T1 punished.
Flashless Gumayusi was caught by Ayoya, and that miasma barely keeps him in check, so MKOI can chase them down. And by some miracle, MKOI are constantly finding these picks that are holding them in this game. Look at the top left of your screen. That Red Bull Baron power play is negative for T1.
1.2k all that separates them. The flowers as well, of course, still putting T1 in a favorable position. The scaling of the Sivir still feeling like it puts them in a strong spot. But MKOI making the risky play happen, waiting in the darkness, not willing to just go quietly in this game. Again, T1 match point advancement moves them up into the top 8, 4 for 4 LCK seeds, advancing to the quarterfinals. MKOI need to win here and win again, or they will be sent home.
And I do think this, if Supa resets here, is the adaptive helm finish for him as well, making him significantly safer in these fights. 6, 3, and 4 in the Vayne. We were questioning whether it would work if he could hit this late game, and now, with 50 seconds until that dragon, this could be the picks that MKOI need, and a potential third dragon, mountain dragon for them, makes them very tanky, which is exactly what you want against this kind of more burst-heavy team from T1.
Makes a lot of sense. 38 seconds. Again, Supa doing his best to clear these waves, get priority in the mid lane. May need to be ready to fist fight just to gain control here as T1 are matching.
It flashes up across the board except for Alvaro. And it is just Gumayusi missing his barrier alongside it, so maybe vulnerable if MKOI can get on top of him and Miasma can lock him in place. But MKOI now taking control here once more in River.
Faker waiting off to the side, MKOI no vision, up into mid lane. A few creeps gonna be missed here by MKOI, but they know that's the price to contest this Drake. Doran off on the side, isolated as well, taunting, threatening, trying to distract the members of MKOI. Flash forward from Jojo, completely whiffs. Owner immediately turns right back. Alvaro tries to find the disengage. Lockup on Guma does not come through. Mirwin cannot find the angle. Supa still standing for now. Knock back into the wall is good, but Owner wants to take down the Vayne. He doesn't quite have the damage. Supa still standing, but the rest of MKOI are starting to fall. He splits back into Mirwin. Tumble back into the back line. Knock up from Doran. One more ferocious bite, but the Gadem says not today. Supa standing, but here comes Faker.
Faker finishes off Supa and holds the game for T1 in his hands. It looked like Supa might have been able to hold it, but now with the Dragon Soul in T1's favor, what looked like desperation in the fight may just crumble before them.
The priceless moment. T1 holding the line. MKOI so close. A few too many ultimates going awry.
And it was Jojo who tries to make the play here, flashing forward to get on towards Gumayusi, but that misses. Mirwin goes for the public execution onto Gumayusi. He flashes it and keeps himself safe. And with that, T1 at least have that damage from their AD carries ricocheting through the fight. Faker uncontested topside, and Supa is playing out for his life here. Desperately trying to move around the fight, picks off Gumayusi, but again, look at these repositions from Faker, constantly threading onto key carries. The Realm Warp to get on towards Supa, and MKOI tried desperately to play both sides of the fight, but T1 get the access that they need.
Damn good fight, but in the clutch, T1 holding on. The sustained damage. You can see the story really is Supa, Mirwin trying to go toe-to-toe with Guma and Faker. Initial exhaust now coming out. Ayoya just chunking away on the clone. Both sides still ready to fist fight. Advantages slowly growing for T1, but they don't have Baron yet. 3 seconds till they can take that objective. The Soul making them that much more tanky. The true damage of Silver Bolts still has a lot to work through.
No flashes on towards MKOI's carries. Faker still has his. And if MKOI try to play the fights front to back, maybe they have a chance, but Oner.
Oner caught out for a moment, uses the clone. Forced to retreat, on the hunt used. That's the Cyclone. One key ability chipped away. MKOI, that's an advantage for the fight. Ulti from Gumayusi as well.
They're not over contesting, as you said. Baron up and available for MKOI. Knowing now both ults on Gumayusi and Oner down, feel comfortable moving in here. Mirwin.
Going in, Guma, that's the pillar. Mirwin taking his time waiting for the spell shield to be utilized. Nice sidesteps from Gumayusi not to get caught by anything else. A lot of ultis traded, but neither side burning too much.
Nobody wants to overcommit. MKOI know that their hopes of sticking around at Worlds lie in the balance of this next fight at the Baron.
That control ward in the pit, though, MKOI didn't take it away, so it means T1 know that they have the time to play slow, to ease into this. Faker flashing forward, trying to get more out of Jojipun. Jojipun taking his time. The Petrifying Gaze only going to connect onto Oner. Immediate exhaust to follow up. Doran looking for the knock-up as well. And just now, Supa's finally able to join the fight. The Realm Warp going to bring only a few minions in, but that's a clutch pick for T1.
MKOI separated as they try to contest the mid-wave while keeping their approach on Baron free. And T1 pounce. That was exactly what they needed in the moment. And just like that, T1 are getting objective after objective.
Just that bit of difference. They burned so many cooldowns in the setup, but once they get that pick, full confidence descendant on the objective. Faker not afraid to walk face first into JoJo, trusting his reaction times to just dodge the Petrifying Gaze. And it feels like this Red Bull Baron power play may be the last in this series. MKOI once again in a position where they have to hold the line. Last time it was picks that stopped this from being a problem, that stopped the Baron from getting full effect, but they're completely on the back foot this time around.
And that's the thing, it's no longer about where you are in your build or what items you could try and hit. It's the fact that again and again T1 have been able to find those fights, have been able to spread MKOI thin. They're picking off JoJo at the start of these fights, and then it just becomes Supa versus the world. And Vayne sometimes likes those odds, but in this sort of situation, T1 have been able to shut Supa down every single moment.
I don't think anyone's playing odds against T1, brother. No matter how good, no matter how fed. There's a reason they're the two-time, the back-to-back. Both these teams, a bit of an awkward road to qualify, but all that matters is getting there, making it to the next stage. T1 on the precipice of taking the series. MKOI, the cusp of elimination. Have to hold the line.
Doran very quickly making his way through that middle turret. The Demolish doing work. As T1 just letting the minions do the work for them on the bottom lane. There is no one that can really approach these waves, and that wave clear is abysmal on MKOI's side.
That it is. Everyone trying to contest Doran, but again, the tunnels are set up. He's not even going to use it if he doesn't have to. Another inhibitor tower falling, likely 2 inhibitors to follow.
There is a wave amassing on the top side. MKOI Worlds starting to sneak away from them as T1 continue to put a stranglehold on this game.
Supa walking up stun initially onto Oner, does still have access to the GA. Double ultis, both supports trading, and T1 with a quick retreat. Happy to have 2 inhibitors, no need to risk anything else.
Looking for, they found Guma. They end up interrupting him, but no public execution to follow. Guma had the flash if he needed to.
Get the TP at the very least out of Keria, who's there to cover for his AD carry, but on the hunt, and the spell shield both still available for Guma.
But now with super minions in both mid and bot, there's no one who can clear that out very quickly. MKOI going to find themselves thin on the map once more. T1 starting to escort these minions in and then move up towards this top side.
MKOI begging for a chance at one more 5v5 despite the gold deficit, because they know if it comes down to PvE, if it comes down to waves and prio, that they just do not win. Doing everything they can to clear the waves before T1 are in a position to threaten.
But it's not just one fight. Mid towers all still stand. Bot lane fully stands. MKOI need to find one fight that can fall into another, that can maybe get that domino going in their favor.
Once more into the abyss, once more from Movistar Koi. Oner locked up for a brief moment, on the hunt used. MKOI retreating back to the river, but unbreakable down for Alvaro already. Oh yeah, isolated. 5 members grouped for MKOI.
Super Minions in the bases. MKOI start the Elder. They need to find this fight now and quickly.
TP there for Doran, and he's immediately going to use it to go to the base. He wants to threaten the back door. MKOI don't have great tools to respond to this. T1 just need to keep the pressure on, and Doran will end the game. Owner with the knockup to keep things going. Carrier there as well. Rise with the Realmorph. It's Faker and Guma alongside Doran to try to end it all. Mirwan doing his best to hold the line. TP coming in for Jojopyun. They're not going to be able to cancel it. Mirwan, Jojopyun, they need to make this work. They don't have the angle. Guma with a perfect spell. Shield is still going to remain standing. T1 move on to the top 8 at Worlds 2025. MKOI are sent packing.
Everything was taken from them in a moment. MKOI looked like they might have been able to hold on, but T1 continued to stride forward towards playoffs, to continue forward to defend their title.
A valiant effort from MKOI, but T1